talk, though. I want to get into some Portal King. The man, the myth, the legend. I mean, the silver spoon of the college football, I guess we can say. That's what we were kind of talking about pre-cast.
Sure.
I had some backup words for this man, but you brought me back down a little bit. Put me a little, knock me down a ledge.
Yeah, we'll talk about it here, but it sounds like there is a one Joey Freshwater, also known as Lane Kiffin, that has been quite active in not just the Tuscaloosa bars, as we all know him to be, but also in the transfer portal. And by transfer portal, we do not mean a pending divorce, which is actually where I thought this conversation was going to go.
Steve is riled up this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Buckle in, sit tight, because Steve is clocked in. All right, well done, Stevie.
Thank you.
That is right. The transfer portal, this man is now claiming himself to be the portal king with 15 portal commits. Let me name a few. Mason Brooks, offensive tackle. Isheem Young, safety. I'm going to mess up a few names here, so you guys just buckle up, okay? No need for you to roast me anymore. Jaxson Dart, 5-star quarterback from USC. Troy Brown, linebacker from Central Michigan. Michael Trigg from USC as well. J.J. Pegas, I believe, from Auburn, tight end. Man amongst boys, Malik Heath from Mississippi State. Taking it from down the road, wide receiver, 3-star coming out of high school. Jared Ivey, edge, out of Georgia Tech. Kahari Coleman, edge, out of TCU. Euless Bentley, running back, out of TCU, or Mustangs. And then the last one that kind of really put the icing on the cake here, Jaylon Robinson, wide receiver, was averaging about 17 yards a catch in UCF, from UCF. 15 absolute studs. So he had more Matt Corral there, right? Which he just got drafted into the NFL. And something to be said here with the portal, and what's great about the portal is that Ole Miss had a great year last year, right? What we consider like a pop year. Had a kind of popped in, got things going. Typically this happens. Those guys go to the NFL. Things slow down a little bit, right? And then they have to go and get the draft or go get the recruiting, build back up. That's why Saban's been so great for so long, is he has built the perfect little rotation where he's developed guys perfectly kind of just to shuffle in and shuffle out, right? Just one after the other. With the portal now in place, that's not needed anymore. That development is now basically non-existent. It can be. It doesn't have to be, but it can be, right? So now Lane comes in, has a pop year. He can stay on top of that heat. He doesn't have to lose the momentum. So what is he doing? He is capitalizing on that pop and going out and getting 15 guys that are some are established, some are like the Jaxson Dart is a 5-star quarterback, so that could still be a boom or bust type of situation, right? Because he hasn't really shown anything just yet. But again, being able to get these guys and show what's going on here, and this is why I like him. The guy's young, he's fun, and I think this is where he's going to relate and do well in the portal, right? Because he's just going to be able to relate to these kids a lot better. And that's, I think, we've talked about Billy does a great job at as well. It's not like the Brian Kellys of the world where they're trying to dance in behind them. Like, it's not a weird trying to relate because they're still closer in age, right? So it makes sense. But I love it. I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be great. We were talking precast. I wouldn't mind seeing Ole Miss kind of get things going. I said this about Texas A&M. I wouldn't mind seeing Ole Miss. I'm tired of seeing Bama coming out of that side. So if Ole Miss wants to take over, I mean, that powder blue is fresh. And I love me some Lane Kiffin. So put Lane Kiffin on the TV, put some powder blues. I'm here for it.
Look, the beauty of Lane Kiffin is that you just never know what version of Lane Kiffin you're going to get. The things that come out of his mouth are just he's a gunslinger. But let's just take a trip down Lane Kiffin history road here. The guy somehow, some way became the head coach of the Oakland Raiders without ever being a head coach in his career at all. The guy just ends up a head coach in Oakland. That goes swimmingly well, as he was fired by Al Davis, I want to say not even 20 games in. So he goes to Tennessee. He's the head coach there after denying interviewing for the USC head coaching job. He leaves under the cover of night for the USC coaching job. He bombs at USC. He's there for a couple of years, but he actually gets called off the team bus in between the airport and campus in order to be fired immediately on the tarmac by the athletic director. Look, he has to land somewhere, so he goes to the Crimson Tide. The home for wayward coaches, apparently, is what Saban has going on down there. But it's a frosty relationship with Saban. It seems like they coexisted, but not happily. Goes to FAU, which could have been the absolute worst place in the world for a guy who uses the pseudonym Joey Freshwater to hook up with chicks. Not sure why anybody didn't think that might be a problem. And now he is at Ole Miss, which you call him the Portal King. I call him the Portal Snake. I don't think that there's anything that is below what this guy is capable of, and we should all be in fear. Hide your kids, hide your wives, hide your quarterbacks, your running backs, your tight ends, because he is taking everybody out here.
I love it. Now somebody said, look. Muddy's saying he's going to leave Ole Miss. I think he'd be dumb to leave, and that's what Jesse Cauldron just said too. I think he's got a good thing going there, and there's a little thing here we're going to go over a little bit later. But right now they're a 7.5 favorite, which I think is a little harsh. I think it's because of Matt Corral leaving, but they're favored to do or win 7.5 games right now, which we're going to get into the whole SEC and the Florida here in a minute. So when we get into that, you'll see why I think that's a little harsh. But this segues into another thing that we have been hot on for the last 2 weeks, okay? We're going to ride this pony. We said he's going to find a way into this podcast one way or another, and that's Arch Manning. We have made an argument the last 3 weeks on the schools, and every time I talk about it, it changes. And look, real quick, before we get – actually, no, hold on. We'll talk about the comments in a minute because this is a separate thing. But the comments are awesome. I love when all the people who comment down below, their thoughts, their opinions, they're great. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's actually really good. Like, we look like idiots. Some people were saying the money isn't a factor, is a factor because he has a lot of money. I disagree with that. The point is, like, he's not going somewhere for money because he has it. So that's not a factor. People kept saying the money thing is, and it was kind of weird. The one thing that I will say that I agree with, that a lot of people were commenting that I was like, yes, that's a solid point that Steve and I really didn't emphasize on enough. We kind of did, but not really. And where's the talent, right? The O-line, the wide receiver, the stars around Arch. That's going to make an impact on where he goes too. Right, he's not going to go to just, and I think we talked about it a little bit, but not necessarily the star aspect. Like, hey, there's 2 big wide receivers that you're going to be able to be comfortable with. That's going to make you look better than what you actually are, right? All these things that we just talked about with Lane Kiffin, and Ole Miss has been a dark night, and a lot of people were commenting Ole Miss, and I was like, nah, like, where's Ole Miss coming from? Because the Manning legacy, like, no way. But now with this going on, and I kind of took a step back, and I was like, let me see why they're saying this. Ole Miss to me is now one of a heavy favorite, right? I mean, Manning having like a legacy there, it's not like a Vince Young thing, which you got absolutely roasted for, which we're going to get into in a minute. Obviously, at Ole Miss, Manning is respected, but Arch could go and I'm sure have his own little legacy there. But I don't know. I think Ole Miss is making a little bit of a run here. They're putting a lot of studs around them. Outside the Dart guy, they've got 2 massive tight ends coming in, tons of wide receivers, some offensive lineman help. Matt Corral just went to the NFL from Lane Kiffin, so he's got a little bit of reason, hey, we can produce studs out of here for quarterbacks. Ole Miss might be making a little late run. So it's interesting. I didn't think I'd ever say this, but it's, to me, I would see, I'm putting Ole Miss into the top tier with the Texas. Florida's always been the pipe dream, right? But Texas and Ole Miss, I think, to me, are more of a heavy favorite than anything else right now.